Guys, there's a good number of you on right now. There's about 130 or so people that are registered for tonight's event. Usually on live webinars, about half of the people make it on. So we're probably expecting about between 50 to 65 by the time this thing gets actually rolling. But thank you for spending this Thursday evening. For most people, this is like wind down day, heading into the weekend. And, you know, a lot of you probably might be on autopilot tomorrow. Us as entrepreneurs, on the other hand, you know, every day is another, it's a day of blessing. You get to create value and basically write your own check. So, you know, we love the space. We really take a lot of pride in it. You don't see a lot of like, you know, corporate executives or attorneys coming on celebrating and sharing, how do I get where I got to, right? Yeah, you have mentorship programs and stuff, but this is one of the unique things I find in the real estate industry is that people operate, generally speaking, with a mindset of abundance, where they want to give back, they want to share, they want to tell you about their story, because honestly, you don't go to college, you don't go to high school with textbooks that talk about how to become a real estate investor. These are things that you have to pick up at Barnes and Nobles. You go to a seminar and it's specialized education that you get and you learn afterwards. And quite honestly, in a lot of cultures, I don't know about the Italian culture, Mel, but like in our culture, you're either going to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, you know, that sort of thing. Like real estate is like akin to selling cars or something, right? And I mean, now everybody's made it glamorous with Instagram and all kinds of stuff, you know, and HGTV, and it looks like the cool thing to do, especially as a side hustle. But let's jump right into this. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Shomail Malik. I'm with the TheREIBros podcast show. My brother and I, we recently started this to be able to showcase people that are crushing it in the business, talk to you a little bit about their journey so that you could take some learnings from it, so that you can hopefully condense your own path to success. And that's the reason that we're doing this, not because we have extra time. The other thing that I want to share with you guys, I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Sorry for all the shameless plugs. But we've been teaching real estate investing since 2014. And what we did, especially with COVID, is we codified all of our courses and curriculum. And like I was saying, they don't actually have like real estate investing 101 in your undergrad classes, right? When you apply and enroll at Rutgers. But we've created, you know, from phone scripts to the contracts that we've spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars with attorneys crafting to make them investor friendly, spreadsheets and all of that. The most comprehensive, we feel, real estate investing curriculum. If you go to this website, TheREIBros.com, and listen to what some of these people that have attended our seminars and workshops and mentorship programs over the years, they will tell you how detailed we are, like from starting your LLC and getting your business card all the way up to getting your first deal, to then scaling to a you know, a proper and sound 7-figure business. So we talk about all of that. And one of the things that we're, you know, there's some freebies on here that you can go out and get, you know, 7 ways to build a large rental portfolio, 51 ways to find motivated sellers, and so on and so forth. But one of the things that we're really excited about is this right here. And this could, I see this as like a gateway drug for a lot of new people, is that if you don't want to spend a lot of money on real estate education, join the community. We've got a WhatsApp group that's set up, that's buzzing with, at this point, very seasoned investors. Many of them have gone through our program. And now they are, you know, big investors in their own right. Some of them are doing commercial strip malls. Some of them are doing big multifamily syndications, and you know, built out big wholesale operations and rehabbing and so on and so forth. And all of these folks are in there to help you, including myself and my brother and our head of operations here, Faik Siddiqui. And so join the WhatsApp group, because we want to get more people on board there, sharing ideas, masterminding, and so on and so forth. But, you know, raising capital, how to build a rental portfolio, marketing, wholesaling, rehab, all the basics of how to do real estate investing is in there. This is our title company, Apex Title Group. If you need title searches and title commitments, we've got a very seasoned staff that takes care of all of that. That's apextitlegroup.com. If you're a wholesaler and you are really good at finding deals, but you have trouble selling your properties, we've got over 60,000 buyers in our marketing engine. And so we've got, somewhat of a proprietary method. We go through 11 different marketing channels to sell deals. And we're, along with many others, we're probably one of the largest wholesalers in the state of New Jersey. And it's because of the processes and things like that that we've learned over the last 12 years of doing the business. But if you're a wholesaler looking to sell your deals, we've got 1031 exchangers that are constantly coming through our pipe, mom and pop landlords, retail buyers, rehabbers, you name it. We can help move your deal, and we do this as a JV. And then we've got a roofing company also. And this is interesting because we go through your insurance company and see that if you will qualify for a full replacement of your roof if it's in bad shape. So we've got a roofing company that does all of that. Now that we've got that out the way and we've paid some bills, I want to get started with the actual topic for tonight. And we've got about 50 people on now. So welcome to all you guys and for spending this evening with us to learn and invest in your own education. I've got a very special guest. Sometimes we go out of state and we cross state boundaries to find people like this. But I think Mel, when we talk about heavy hitters, I did a panel in January of 2020, right before the COVID pandemic struck. And we did a debate, landlords versus real estate wholesalers and rehabbers, right? And Mel was probably, I think, hands down the shining star. 300 plus rental units. That in itself puts you in like a completely different echelon. People have 5s, 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, right? Like sub 100 units. 300 puts Mel in, I think, definitely a different stratosphere, right? That's the one. Then, because of all the passive cash flow that he has from those sort of businesses, he's able to then go out and do AirBNB, which we want to dive into today, and then mobile home parks and all the many things that I don't even know what he's doing behind the scenes. So, Mel, welcome to our little podcast show here. Awesome. Why don't we start? Say what's up, hello to all.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me, man.
And nice first of all, condolences to you for the passing of your late father, and also taking time, despite that, to still join us. And I understand it's, for you, it's a distraction, things like that, but I wanted to take a minute to, recognize that somebody beloved to you passed away and that he brought you up, right? And he poured himself into you, and you are the man that you are, probably from seeing his work ethic and what he was. Talk a little bit about like where you grew up, your childhood, what your parents, the role that they played in your life. Talk a little bit about that. Why don't we start
actually, I'm a first generation Italian. Both my parents came over from Italy. So I'm the eldest of 4. And obviously the burden lays on my shoulders because they didn't speak English. And I had to learn from a very young age how to manage things, run things. My dad bought some properties. I was dealing with mortgage brokers at 11 years old. I was talking with realtors at 11 years old. My dad passed away this week at 81 years old, still doesn't speak English. So basically I had to manage everything since a very young age, from, previewing properties, mortgages, refinances, and stuff like that. So my dad worked in a factory and he owned a few properties here and there. And, and it's funny because literally, if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, my life is exactly that. My mom's side of the family is very heavy on education, become a doctor, become a lawyer. Everyone's educated on that side, went to college, valedictorian, summa cum laude. And then my dad's side of the family, I don't think anyone graduated 8th grade. And they all owned construction companies, butcher shops, real estate. So a few of them even spoke English, and they all did very well for themselves. So actually, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad is my entire life growing up. But yeah, so
nice. What part of Jersey did you grow up?
I grew up in Bergen County, Hackensack.
Okay, all right. So went to Hackensack High and all that.
Yeah, it's a very multicultural environment. Everyone around us is Hispanic, African American, Italian, Polish.
Nice.
So It was a great upbringing, that's for sure. And my kids are in the Maywood School District, same thing, multicultural. I love that. So it's very good to intertwine with just to learn from different people.
Yeah, man, because it's a microcosm of what the real world is, right? And then
Exactly.
you get to, if you're just in like a little bubble, then that's all you know how to operate with those type of people. But
Yeah,
you got to see
exactly.
different cultures, taste a little bit of everything.
Exactly.
And instead of traveling all over the world, you've got the United Nations like right there in your backyard because everybody's
Exactly.
here, right?
You
It's a
know?
melting pot.
Exactly. So it was great to grow up in that environment, and I want my kids to grow up in that environment. So,
So-
and learning from him and their work ethic. My dad worked, my mom worked. I watched them work nonstop, and it kind of gave me, when I started young, is like, well,
what'd your mom do?
She was a school teacher.
Okay.
She was a school teacher. She came here when she was, I think, 16 years old. She spoke English, still broken English, till to this day. But she was managed to speak. She taught Italian and Spanish.
Okay. So you looked at both parents. How did you decide which way you're going to gravitate your life towards? Because your dad was more blue collar. Your mom was more like get a degree and then there's a path after that. How did you figure out for yourself, or were they like imposing on you that this is what you're going to do, Mel?
No, they said I had to go to college.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go to college, but I did. From a young age, even I was working full time, going to school full time. When I was 17 years old, I was working at Walgreens, and 18 years old, they made me manager. So I was the youngest manager for the Walgreens pharmacy company. And I was going to college, Seton Hall at the time, corporate law. And I was like, all right, this isn't for me. One of my college professors, I would sleep in class, get up and debate my corporate law, and go back to sleep. And he's like, dude, you're fantastic. He's like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And one day he took me to his office as a mentor. He was mentoring me. And I was like, I got there like 7 o'clock in the morning. He didn't leave till 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, this is not for me, man. I was like, I can't sit in this goddamn office all these hours. And I literally dropped out of Seton Hall, and I didn't tell my parents, and they yelled at me. They found out like a few weeks later, and I was like, I dropped out. I couldn't do this anymore. And then I actually went back to school, and I was like, what's the easiest thing I can do? Leave early and have the summers off. And I became a teacher. So I didn't become a teacher.
Nice.
I just wanted the minimal amount of work.
Were you grading? Were you even grading papers, or you just like blindly giving grades?
I was a gym teacher. I got the least of.
Oh, gym teacher.
I was like, I don't want to do anything. So I became a gym. I was a school teacher, so I taught gym and technology at the time because I'm always very
okay. So I've seen some of your Facebook posts, right? Like now you're heavy into working out and getting your health back and stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw like back in the day you were like buff.
Yeah.
And stuff, right? So that was your okay. So less cannolis, less calzones at that time. You were watching your stuff. Okay.
I was always into fitness. I always like how the body can actually, I always love bodybuilding. It's like to watch our muscles grow like a beast. It's something I always admired. I was like, wow, it's crazy what the body can do. And I gained most of my weight with building the businesses and having kids. I had no time whatsoever to invest in my health.
I think a lot of us can resonate with that.
I gained easily 100 pounds through that time frame. So I'm like, you know what? Now I got time on my hands. During COVID, I was like, I laid low, just collected the rents. We weren't buying. I was like, you know what? It's time to focus on my health again, because I had a huge scare with a panic attack, thinking it was a heart attack. And I was like, that's not going to happen to me.
So go back to, you're a gym teacher. So, now you're living the life, because that's what you were like kind of etched out for yourself. You're like, this is perfect. I get the summers off, leave early, all of that, couple of jumping jacks and push-ups. And I don't even have to do it myself. I just tell the kids to do it. Right. Exactly. And then you're out of there.
Exactly. Yeah. It's basically, I was teaching. I taught for 5 years. I was out of there by 2:30, 3 o'clock. I was teaching in Jersey City.
Which school district? Was that also in Jersey?
I was in Jersey City at the time. So
okay. Oh, okay. And Jersey City was not like what Jersey City is today, like all posh and everything.
Yeah. When I was there, it was 2001.
It was like higher learning.
Yeah, basically. they used to break into teachers' cars and steal the ashtray change. That's how bad it was.
Jeez, wow.
And I was buying 3 families for $75,000. I was buying
in Jersey City.
Families, for $125K
a door.
Huh?
Wow, man. 25K a door.
25K a door.
That's
and the seller's payment.
That's like people that talk about today. Like I invested in Bitcoin when it was $5.
Basically,
yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Okay. So what year is this? Like what years are these?
This was 01. It was actually 02 to like 04, 05.
Okay. And that bug was inside of you because your dad had properties. And
my
so
dad
you
had
that.
Property, exactly.
So he got you like exposed to that.
Yep. And my dad,
Okay.
I bought my first property in Jersey City, a 3-family. I paid $75,000. And my dad's like, why the hell are you buying over there? That's crazy. It's dangerous. And it was really dangerous.
Yeah.
And we
Where
did
did he have his properties? You don't mind
in
me asking?
Bergen County,
Okay.
Hackensack, Garfield,
Okay.
and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so we bought a property, we closed on it, and literally we went to the property after the closing, and it was taped off. They murdered somebody at the street, up at the
Oh,
corner of
yeah.
the property.
Jeez.
So I couldn't even go to
Yeah.
the closing to the property.
Yeah.
So, and anyway, that didn't scare me.
So
I
you didn't do
care.
the walkthrough. Yeah,
Huh?
you didn't do the walk. You didn't do the walkthrough. You
We
couldn't.
did the walkthrough the day before,
Oh.
but the day of the closing, somebody was killed at the
Okay.
corner. So,
Unbelievable. All right.
and so that happened. So we moved.
So did that delay your?
buying.
I guess the reno got delayed.
No, that was a turnkey property practically, just spackling paint. It wasn't even, they were selling properties. The people wanted to get out of Jersey City back then. It was like sellers paying closing costs. Downtown, it was downtown by Newport Center Mall. My brother was working in the Newport Center Mall. It was literally Newport Center Mall, drug dealers and prostitutes, and flat land.
Did you pick that property because the price was just cheap, and so you could get it on your teacher salary at the time?
Yeah, it
or
was
was
cheap
it more
on my
like
salary.
I feel like Jersey City is gonna go through a renaissance?
I didn't
That
think
was
about
probably
that at all.
nowhere
No.
in your horizon.
Nowhere. No, yeah, it's
Okay.
nowhere in my horizon. That was
How'd
gonna
you
happen.
finance it? 75,000 P. A lot of people think,
FHA.
wow, that's a lot of money. FHA, okay.
FHA,
Okay.
yeah.
So you house
I
hacked it
bought
like
one.
3.5%.
Yeah, 3.5%. I bought one. My brother bought one. My sister bought one. My other bro bought one. So we're just buying properties like that. Then we bought some for 6 families for $125. So right now I own about 81 doors in Jersey City, and I don't think I own more than $200,000 or $250,000 in any of them.
Wow. Okay.
So that we got into.
That's across like maybe 10 to 15 buildings.
Yeah, rough. Yeah, that was
Properties,
about 15 buildings. I got to double check 1 second.
Okay.
Those, then we did some condo conversions also back in the day.
Okay.
Worked out really well for us. And then like 05, 06, that market I was buying. Then I started buying in Newark. That market back then I was paying maybe 180, 200,000 for 3 families. They boomed up to like 350, 400,000.
What turned you on to Newark? What made you make that move?
One of my friends, he was he worked with Jordan Barris.
Okay, yeah.
He's like, hey, look into this market. I own a bunch of real estate here. It's a good deal. I like the Section 8 because that's what I was doing in Jersey City. And he just got into the Newark market, Central Ward, South 12th Street, back in the time of Central Avenue. So we just started buying there like crazy. And then we just kind of grew the portfolio and just like quit teaching at the time.
How'd you finance all of these deals? So 3.5% on the FHA, I get that. But then what about everything else? Because everything else is not going to be a primary.
It was regular bank loans, really. That's what I didn't learn about hard money till like maybe.
So you had your W-2. You had your W-2 to bank off of, and you could get what, up to 10 properties or whatever your debt to income ratio would allow. Okay, cool.
So we did that, and then I didn't learn about hard money till one of these guys we what's it called? We buy ugly houses, whatever it is.
Yeah,
So some guys
home
that I knew
investors. Home investors, right?
Home investors,
With the little caveman guy. Yeah.
So two guys that were with them, I guess they were lending hard money, and I was like, that's how I learned about hard money. And then they started investing in some of our deals, lending us hard money, and we just kept buying using their funds. And then we kept growing from there, really.
So it's really Jersey City and Newark is where most of your holdings are, right?
Mostly I have in those 2 cities alone, I have just about 280 something doors.
Wow. Okay. So
I have some in Bayonne now,
so,
some in Hackensack, South Hackensack.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, so now you bought some in your hometown and stuff too.
Yeah, we bought some in the Bergen County area. So it worked out really well.
You got this saying that you're famous for, Section 8 never late, right? I love that saying. It's so true too. But a lot of people have misnomers and misconceptions about Section 8, the type of tenant profile. Sometimes people think that, it's a racial thing, right? Like, well, guess what? In the Midwest, it's mostly white folks that are on Section 8. It's not a racial thing at all. It has to do with a certain, socioeconomic, rung that folks don't qualify for a certain income level. And then depending on the makeup of that neighborhood, then of course, they're going to be either African-American or Hispanic or whatever it is. But it's not just that. It's also handicapped folks and folks that are elderly that get on Section 8. And Section 8 may pay some, or they may pay all of the rent.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think like, oh, you rent to Section 8, they're gonna tear up your house, they're gonna punch walls into drywall and all kinds of things. What would you say about that? Considering, well, first of all, what percentage of your units are Section 8?
80% plus.
80%. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
Why are you so heavy on it?
Section 8's never late. I was like, unless the government goes out of business, I'm out of business. You know what I mean? So that's really.
And what do you say to the folks that say like, oh, well, these people are like, oh, they're gonna tear up my place. They're like animals and all kinds of stuff.
I've had cash payers tear up my place. You know, you just got to look at it. You're dealing with people, right? It doesn't matter where they come from. And statistically, 95% of the people are very good people. That's statistics.
Yeah.
No matter where they're coming from, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, don't get me wrong. You know, unfortunately, a lot of these people were dealt a bad hand, or the way they grew up. There's you know how they were raised and whatnot, or they're just accustomed to the systems that basically the system. I used to tell my students when I was a school teacher, Section 8 is legal segregation. If you fall into that system, that's exactly what they're doing to you, unfortunately. But if they grow up in that system, they're used to that system, and you know, and they don't want to get out of that system. I've had student parents tell their kids when I was a teacher, "Why are you learning? You're going on Section 8." Like that they told their students that. I mean, their kids. So, but at the end of the day, to me, when I was teaching in Jersey City, I remember I drove one of my students home after a basketball game, and I pulled up to his house. It was on Virginia Avenue in Jersey City. And he's like, "That's my house." I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here." I was like, "That's your house." The thing's run down. You know what I mean? Good kid, good family, father and mother both involved. You know, if he got a B in a test, his parents are in the classroom within 10 seconds. I'm like, this poor kid's growing up in the slums. So my goal was, hey, listen, you know what? I just want to provide quality housing to these people. Why should he have to go home to a piece of crap house just because his mother's on Section 8 or whatever the case may be? You know, these slumlords, and if you're, I have signs in front of my building, tired of your slumlord, good landlord for good tenants.
Nice.
So I've had tenants for me since the beginning. I had a,
you found a competitive advantage in the market. And you're like, I'm going to serve these folks and treat them like human beings that they are, with dignity and respect.
Exactly.
And in return, they're going to treat my property right as well.
Exactly.
So that's not just of course it's human decency, but it's also a business decision to do that, right?
Exactly.
And they've taken care of you on the flip side, right? All right.
That's exactly awesome. How it is. My dad had a tenant for Section 8 for 22 years. We sold that property and she literally cried. I watched her kids grow up. Her kids had kids and I watched them grow up. And when we sold the property, she was like dead in tears. And still to this day, we sold that property 3 years. She still text messages me. "How you doing, Mel? How's everything going?" Buildings that I sold in Newark, the tenants call me that I sold. "This landlord sucks. I want to move into one of your apartments." So we have literally waiting lists for tenants to move in. And then listen, you treat people with respect, they're going to treat you with respect. That's it. There's no ifs and buts about it. You're dealing with humans. It doesn't matter the color of their skin or whatever the case may be, or how they grew up. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, we make you know, we post memes and things like that on the first of the month, like rent's due and things like that. And of course, we're joking around.
Of course.
But you know, at the end of the day, it is a people's business, and you're dealing with human beings. And understand that not everybody's in a position where somebody hits a pothole. Now they got to make a decision if they're paying rent this month, or they're going to, you know, take care of their axle, their wheel axle, and put a tire on their car, because they still got to get to work in order to, again, pay you your rent, right? Yeah. And so some people will be like, "No, let's file eviction right away." Well, no, maybe if they've been with you for a year or two, you put them on a payment plan and help them get back into it, or whatever it is, work with them, because like you said, it's a people's business. How do you deal with, and this is one of the things I love too, that I've seen you post about, is you deal with maintenance requests right away. Why is that important for retention? Why is that important for just creating a good overall experience? Because maintenance requests is the #1 reason that people leave their landlords, right? So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I own a construction company. So I have guys that live in Newark and Jersey City area. And again, if you take care of your property, they're going to take care of the property. That's basically what it boils down. If you show the tenants you don't care, they're not going to care. So that's, again, it just boils down to, if you're going to pull up to a crappy looking building and this is your home, you're going to treat it like crap. If you're going to pull up to a nice building with freshly painted hallways, landscaped or cleaned up. If there's a leak or something, and it's not leaking for 2 months or 3 months, they're going to take care of you. That's basically, it's simple, common sense. That's really what it boils down to. It's
100%.
it's not rocket science.
It's a two-way street. And a lot of people treat it as like, I'm the landlord, so I'm superior, and they're the tenant, and they're inferior than me, right? And if you just switch that to this, that's more of a partnership, then the tango goes a lot better. So
and even with a construction company with my guys, it's like they're unloading the truck. Sometimes I'm there unloading the truck with them. I never act like I'm better than anybody. And they respect that. You respect them, they respect you. It's just what it boils down to. And like I said, I got over 300 doors in Newark, and literally one tenant in all those years destroyed one of my apartments. And she was a sweetheart lady with 5-6 kids who she had no control over. And unfortunately, and she would cry on the phone to me about her kids, and she had no control whatsoever. They were just crazy teenagers. But unfortunately, you had to do what you had to do. And
that's why teenagers will be teenagers, right? So that's understandable, but it's not a tenant that's acting out of spite because you didn't treat them right for this many number of years, and they're like, all right, well, he's evicted me, so screw him. I'm gonna bang up the house and then run away in the middle of the night. How did you did the construction company, was that like a byproduct of just having this many number of units? And so you had like a handyman working here and there, and you're like, here, I'll just put you on payroll and get you more jobs.
Yeah, we're just, we're buying and flipping houses, and then we're buying probably 5-6 properties a month between like 2010 and 2017. We're just hauling ass with buying properties. So I was like, I'm going to rely on subcontractors. Yeah, I'll be there Monday. Which Monday you coming? You don't even know when they show up. So we just started building a team. We had, over 25 employees full-time working with us. It was just easier to manage the jobs, oversee the jobs. Everyone was on payroll there Monday through Saturday. So it just boils in. Again, at 17, I'm 18 years old, I was managing the Walgreens. I can manage, people that from an early age, I know to manage people.
Past life prepped you for this.
Exactly. So at the end of the game, I was like, let's just build a construction company. And it worked out to our best, obviously worked out for the best.
To bring it in-house and have more control over that aspect of it. Nice. And in terms of now that construction company, you got to keep them busy, right? So if there's not much activity going on in your properties, or you're not buying, at the clip that you were buying before, how did you continue to keep them busy with jobs?
Yeah, we just worked by referral with some other investors who needed some work done, friends and family who needed a bathroom, kitchen remodel, really.
So these became like additional revenue streams for you.
Exactly.
Right? Like it was already like under your nose. You're like, well, I can monetize this and do people's kitchens and all that. And you're not really picking up the hammer. You're just sending the guys there, right?
Exactly. So we just did stuff like that. And it's literally just based on referral. That's what it was. I didn't even advertise anywhere. I didn't go crazy. So then a lot of the stuff I was doing was like 2 or 3 Ks. I was doing 3 Ks of like Section 8. You're going to get paid. I'm not chasing people for money. The bank's going to cut the check to me. So it's just a matter of getting the job done. So we're doing, I would say, probably a good 50 or 60% of our construction the last 3 years was probably 2 or 3 Ks for the most part. Working with
2 or 3 Ks,
brokers and real estate agents and stuff like that. So I understand how the systems work with the banks. We have the funds to front the money, because really 2 or 3 Ks might do 2-3 draws. So if I do a $150,000 project, I can fund a $100,000 job and wait to get paid. Most contractors can't do that. And again, it's like Section 8, you're going to get paid. So just finish the job, provide quality service, and you're going to get paid. You know what I mean? So
and is there like a higher profit margin in that business, in the 2 or 3 K?
That's probably the same, I would say. You know what I mean? I want to go. I'm not posing anybody. You know what I mean? If my guys are keeping busy, I'm making a few dollars. Let's just say I got 7 crews out, and each crew makes me, $2,000-$3,000 a month. That's $14,000, $21,000 a month to, visit a job site maybe once a week or something like that. So
right.
I'm not looking
you
to
manage
get
all
rich.
of this. I mean, it sounds like a very busy operation. You manage most of it from your house? Like
I don't have an office. I don't understand how some of these guys got 20 apartments. So here's my office. What the fuck you doing? You know what I mean? I was like, you better
You
be on
do
the road,
everything
man.
from the home office. So you don't even have an office expense. You don't need it.
No, I
Right
use
from
from
home.
home. That's my truck and my house. That's about it. That's it.
Nice. Your pajamas are like your work uniform.
Yeah, yeah. It's my sweatpants when I'm at the gym.
Okay. I hope you have pants on right now.
I'm doing a Kevin O'Leary right now.
I get a little like, okay up here, but I've got like Adidas pants on the bottom. So keep the sweatpants on.
Pulling a Kevin O'Leary in my underwear.
Mel, talk about, you've got a huge body of work at this point, right? With the resume that you built out in real estate. Best deal that you ever did. Maybe it was the juiciest, whatever it was, best deal that you ever did.
The best one was probably, I think maybe 5-6 years ago. I bought a fire damaged 7-unit in Jersey City.
How'd you find it?
Huh?
How'd you find it? Just driving past it and then contact the owner?
I forgot how, I tell you the truth, I don't even remember how I got that one.
Okay.
But I paid, it was $150 I paid for it.
Okay, fire
put
damage.
about 400,000 into it. We renovated, we literally bought it, got the permits, did the renovations, finished, got the CO in 7 months. And if you know Jersey City, that's almost impossible. Okay. But I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning, went down with my electrician, HVAC guy, plumber, and everything to the building department to have a meeting with the contract, with the inspectors. Because if you ever done Jersey City, they always kick shit back. I was like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? I had the permits approved in 2 weeks, and we were finished in 7 months, start to finish. So we paid that. We were all in for about 600,000. We rented each unit for about $1,900. It was a cash cow for us. That worked really well. And we ended up selling that for $1.3 million like 3 years later, 4 years later, which now is worth hell a lot more, but
Wait, so you put 400K into it. The purchase was how much?
150.
150. Okay, so 550 all in. And then on the back end, you sold it for 1.3.
1.3.
And were you cash flowing along the way when you?
Oh yeah, we're cash flowing a few thousand a month on that deal.
Nice.
Yeah, it was definitely cash. We're collecting, I think maybe 3 apartments were complete cash flow at 6,000 a month almost, and the rest was debt service.
Has most of your strategy been buy with hard money on the front end, renovate, stabilize, get the rents, and then burr out of it, and then get put the permanent 30-year financing on it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you work with like the bigger banks on the permanent financing, or some of the local community banks?
Most of it right now we're working with, so we're buying bigger assets. So we're buying 110 units in Illinois. So that one we're using Fannie and Freddie financing agency debt. We have a mobile home park that we bought in Indiana. Because when you get into like those Midwest states, it's hard to go with Wells Fargo, Bank of America, those bigger guys, because they don't know the markets. You always have to go very niche credit unions or local banks. So that's usually who we're working with right now. A lot of the local banks in those market areas for the most part.
Got it.
Even the mobile home park that we bought, that was a home run deal because we bought it from 2 investors that had no clue what they're doing. It was 2 young brothers. They were just buy and flip homes. They figured out we'll buy this and keep it as a cash cow. We bought it with 66 lots. We paid $440 for it. And I was like, we couldn't get financing because I would say probably 60% of the park was vacant. No one's going to give you financing on that. So I was like, listen, let me call your debt servicer who's on it. It was a local bank. I call the president of the bank, picks up the phone. That's how small it is out there. And he's like, oh, listen, we're looking at this park. We're real estate investors from New Jersey, New York. And we want to just assume his mortgage. Can you finance us the deal? And he's like, please do. These guys haven't paid us in 6 months. So I negotiated the assumption of the mortgage, got better interest rate, got interest only for 12 months. And basically we came to the closing table with $25,000 to take over the park. He's like, just assume whatever the closing costs are. So we used our cash to, upgrade the sewer lines, the water lines and stuff like that. So
what turned you on to mobile home parks? So let's segue into that now, because you already, gave that case study. What brought you onto that? You were going just fine with Jersey City, Newark, building up your rental units. Why not continue that? Why'd you switch gears to a completely different asset class within real estate?
Because the way I look at what's happening in the economy, right? It's inflation happening. You look at the overall number, 70% of Americans don't have $1,000 saved to their bank account. So every time there's a correction in the market, who's going to get hit first? It's going to be the homeowners. They're going to foreclose. Your luxury A rentals that people are paying $3,000-$4,000 a month, they're going to have vacancies. The Class A move down to Class B move down to Class C move down to Class D, and then after that, you're homeless, right? So I'm at the bottom of that pyramid, and I'm just collecting everybody coming down. So I'm recession proof because I'm in the affordable home housing market. You know what I mean? So if you leave one of my apartments, your next step is a tent in the corner, or a cardboard box.
Right.
So I'm kind of just recession proofing my entire portfolio that way. So if you
you got every rung covered that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was like there was a macro perspective of the economy, and that's what made you jump into mobile home parks.
Exactly.
And then you also recently got into, last time we spoke, Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
And that's become pretty hot with short-term rentals. As of late, there are people that are doing Airbnb arbitrage, which is basically take somebody else's property, go into a lease with them, and then rent it for more, so that they're still on the hook for the lease, but they're renting it at a higher rent amount with the short-term rental, and making money that way. And then I think you're buying your own properties, right?
Yeah.
You talk about the transition to that and how you've been building out that segment of your business.
Yeah, that was funny because I was, my parents, my dad, we've been going down to Wildwood since I'm like 7 years old, literally every year for that's my entire life. Yeah. And I was down there, and a lady posted on Facebook, I'm selling my 4-family house, $375. I was like, okay, I wasn't going to do Airbnb. I was like, going to just buy it, rent out 3 apartments, and just keep 1 apartment for myself when I want to go down there. So I was like, all right, sounds good. I went there, looked at it. I bought the property. I gave her what she was asking. And then one of my friends, he's like, yo, dude, you should do Airbnb. I was like, I've never done it. He's like, so he kind of mentored me because he owns a few properties in Newark that he does Airbnb with. And he showed me his reports. He was making $7,000 a month off 2 apartments in Newark to people flying into Newark Airport. I'm like, damn, what the fuck, I was like, if that's the case, I'm going to try it out down here. So the property came with 2 apartments occupied, 2 apartments vacant. I was like, all right, you know what? The 2 occupied units cover my mortgage. So my Airbnb is complete profit.
It's just creepy.
So I was like, well, let's go in, we'll renovate the units, we furnish them. It might've cost us, I don't know, 20 grand, 25,000 to do all that. And I was like, let's give it a shot. So we set it all up. He helped me set everything up. And we made on the 2 units, $55,000 over the summer.
That's crazy.
Oh, man, this is
just the summer. That's not even the rest of the year.
That's
New Jersey gets really cold for 6 months, right? But yeah, still, you're good.
So that worked out well. So I was like, okay, my mortgage is paid. That's $55,000 I just made in 3 months. Yeah, so nice. Now we bought another.
What was your salary, by the way, when you were a teacher, if you don't mind me asking?
$38,000.
You made $17K more in 3 months doing nothing. Yeah. Not even. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was making $945 every 2 weeks. That's after taxes and unions and all that crap.
Insane.
And yeah, I was still driving Hyundais till like maybe 4 years ago. So we bought that property. That went really well. So now we're converting the other 2 units into Airbnb. So that property should gross us over $100,000 for the summer. So we just bought 2 more properties. We bought another 6-family a few months ago. We bought that one for $440,000, and 3 weeks ago we closed on another 6-family for $550,000. Right now we're sitting on 16 doors in Wildwood, and that's
specifically for the Airbnb.
Yeah, so we're probably going to average about $25,000 per door times 16, so it's about $400,000 gross.
Insane. How are you sourcing these deals?
Through brokers, MLS. So we have some brokers down there that obviously they know we close. So as soon as a deal hits the market, boom, he calls me. So that works really well. We found, like I said, Facebook is the first one I found. Some lady just posted. It was funny because she received an offer. She was asking $375. She received an offer of $425. from one of my students. So I was teaching through my course, and she ended up taking my course. I'm taking my offer because she, she's like, you felt more confident that like you were going to close the deal. Again, anything you do in life, it's all about the way you perceive yourself, right?
Yeah.
So she ended up taking our offer, and we got that deal also. But for 16 doors to gross $400,000, that's a home run deal. A home run investment. So it's double-digit returns for sure.
So what's your overall company look like today? You've got the rental units, 300 rental units. You've got the Airbnb, which you're continuing to build out.
Yeah.
Right. You've got what was it? The mobile home parks, and that requires a little bit more because you have to travel out of state, get on a plane, look at the stuff, the asset, and all of that. What do you like out of the three the most? And is there other stuff? Are you syndicating multifamily? Also?
Yeah, we're starting our first syndication now on the hunt. Well, I really don't need to syndicate it because I'm putting in $1 million in my own funds. But it's 110 units that we're buying in Illinois. It's literally a 10-minute drive to St. Louis, Missouri. And we're buying 110 units. I think we're paying $3.2 million. Okay. So we're just about $32,000 a door roughly. And
what's the play on that? What's the play on that? Is the value add that you're gonna?
Yeah, there's value add. There's
bump up the rents.
That need to be renovated. I would say probably like 20% of the units need to be renovated. The rents are below market. So there's definitely a huge value add component there. And my goal is, and like I told any investors who want to come in on the deal, this is a long-term play. My goal is to have cash flow. You know what I mean? So we're going to hold this for 10, 15, 20 years.
Got it, yeah.
So if we can did you have to 20 years, it's 100, and we're at $1,000 a door at that time with inflation. That's $118,000 a month. Yeah. Gross on a paid off asset. So this isn't for you. This is for your grandkids. This is for your kids. And that's how when I work with partners, whenever I do, I was like, listen, I don't care about you and me. I'm worried about my kids. So I'm worried if something happens to me, I'm going to take care of your kids. Something happens to you, you take care of my kids. And that's the way I operate. You know what I mean? So, and I tell the investors, if you're not looking for a long-term play, don't invest in my deals because we're not going to cash out refinance anytime soon. We're not going to sell this property. This is strictly build a 5,000 door portfolio if you want alongside with me, and we're going to live the good life. If not, go elsewhere. So
did the mechanics of that deal, did you have to do a PPM? Did you do a 506C?
Yeah, we have to do a PPM. So we're
accredited investors only, 506C?
Yeah, 506C accredited investors only. Okay. I don't know. I don't want Aunt Jane calling me every 10 seconds. Hey, how's my $20,000 doing? I need somebody who understands how investing. You're not going to drive me crazy. So again, that one there, I think we need a $1.3 million raise, and I'm putting in $1 million of my own funds. So I'm just bringing some small investors just to see, test the waters with the processes and stuff like that.
But you got most of your money in there.
Most of my money on the LP side. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
cool. Awesome. Now talk, Mel, a little bit about the worst deal that you ever done.
The worst deal was, I'll tell you a few worst deals. I lost a shitload of money on it. Most of them were flips, really. So, and they were all during election years. So don't flip houses on election years. One was when the market crashed in 2007. Because I was buying properties in Jersey. I had a bunch of units in Jersey City. That's like the brick, that's the foundation to my business. And then we're building McDaniels in Bergen County. And then when the market crashed, we took a bloodbath on one of them. Where actually, and it was actually my fault because I had it listed for 1.2 million. I had an offer for $1 million. I said no. I owed about 800,000. I was like, no, I'm gonna wait for my 1.2 million, and then the market just took a shit, and I ended up selling it for 705. So I took a bloodbath on it. But again, I really didn't care because the next month I had another $20,000-$30,000 coming in rentals. You know what I mean? So you gotta hedge that risk, right? And then the other deals I had two in Westfield, and then I had my appraiser come in. He's like, yeah, the numbers look good. Well, then what happened was then I realized, I guess Westfield's broken up north and south, right? So when I did the appraisal, the north side comps were much higher. My properties were on the south side. And I learned the hard way that you're not going to get that kind of money on this side of town. ended up losing like another $80,000 or $90,000, and that was also election year. But again, shit hits the fan, and you're not going to win every single time.
Yeah, it's not all pretty out there.
No, it's not.
A lot of times that doesn't get talked about, but we have to talk about that because you take some wins, you take some L's, and as long as the W's stacks up and they're more than the L's, then you're good. But you've done it a very smart way because you have basically created other revenue streams through your rental properties that allows you to kind of like go in the lab and work with these other properties. And you're like, all right, if this works, great. If it doesn't, I still got 20, 30, 50 grand coming in on the side here. And my bills are still paid. Yeah. So it's almost like R&D for you in a way.
Exactly.
So you come across, I mean, I'm kind of like this. My brother's very different. That I'm more of like ready, fire, aim. Like, this looks good, let's go at it. And then we can find people that'll give us answers on how to figure this thing out, right? Where he's like, oh no, let's just take it one at a time. Let's just build this. So what's like your philosophy on how you approach business and how you open up new revenue streams?
Everything I do is really a calculated risk. You know what I mean? At the end of the game, at the end of the day, no matter what you do in business, it's numbers, right? I don't care if I'm selling cars, houses, bar soap. It's just calculated numbers and risk. So to me, it's just a matter of hedging that risk. How you're going to hedge that risk is, is it 80% in my favor of making money, or is it 80% in my favor of losing money? So again, it just really boils down to hedging, calculating that risk and then jumping on it and see what happens, So it's like, I got 95% chance of losing money in the casino. I'm not going to the casino. You know what I mean? So it really just boils down to numbers.
Okay. No, I see that. What's your company look like today? And like when you start like on a Monday, right? What are you like overseeing and looking at? What are all the different, divisions of your business today? The past few years, I used to be like a control freak, right? I'm not a control freak anymore. Like, I literally might work 10 hours a week, 10, 20 hours a week. My guys kind of run the whole show. Even nowadays, if I tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to meet you on the job site and help you unload a truck, they start yelling at me. No, go home, get out of here. So they kind of run. I just learned to build the teams. I learned how to, manage the teams and give them punch lists of what needs to be done. So I might visit a work site maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. And my guys kind of run the entire show. And even with like Indiana, we built a team out there with the mobile home park. We have an on-site manager. We have an on-site supervisor who does all the repairs. And then we have a team that comes in to do the electrical, the footings, the new homes and stuff like that. So it really just boils down to team building, really. And I kind of perfected that. So I kind of work on, finding the deals now. My job is finding the deals and, raising the capital if I want to do more syndications and whatnot, really. And that's really it. So that's the harder stuff. Like, that's stuff that you can't delegate necessarily. Right. Exactly.
I really can't delegate that. So what we've been doing the past few months is like building relationships with commercial brokers, putting our systems in place with commercial brokers, email campaigns, text message campaigns, stuff like that. And we've been getting some decent deals crossing our desk. So right now we have, like I said, 110 unit that we're purchasing in Illinois, and we have a 212 unit down in Charleston markets, like a little sub market down there that we got a decent deal.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
How did that one come on your radar?
Through a broker that was a pre-market. So it was a guy that I've contacted a few times down in that market. He was actually a deal that I found in Sumter, North Carolina. We put a deal together. I was driving down to Florida. I was like, I'm going to stop down here, take a look at this property. And the seller didn't disclose to us what they disclosed in their OM didn't match what the tenants are telling me. So the numbers were completely skewed. So we went back and asked for a huge price reduction because it was probably like $60,000 or $70,000 a year that was added to the bottom line to our underwriting, which made a huge difference. and that didn't work out. But then he called me back. He's like, hey, listen, I got another one. It's off market. It's the same owner on 3 different buildings, a total of 212 units. And I think we're buying it for like maybe $47,000 a door. And right now they're below market rents. They're about $800, and they easily go for $1,100. So guys owned it for about 20 something years, older gentleman. So it works out, worked out great. So we'll probably do a capital raise on that one for like, a few million, and see how it goes. But that one's a home run deal because it's basically everything you look for in one of these assets.
What's your capital stack on that? You're raising about 30% is the equity, and then the bank is
about 35%. Yeah, 35%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Closing
I wanted to, Carmelo, I wanted to double back on your team. I think I obviously do operations in our company.
Yeah.
And with scaling, what most people struggle with is finding the right person and having like the right philosophy of hiring the right person and making sure that they're in the right position. So overall, like when you hire someone, what are some of the boxes that that person has to check off? And like, what's your overall philosophy?
Check employment history. But what I do is, like, for example, the mobile home park, working in a mobile home and working in a house are 2 totally different things, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of like repairing a car. That's a house compared to a regular apartment. So what I do is, like, I bring the guys in. I was like, let me know what you're going to do in this unit. What's the first thing you're going to do? You know what I mean? I already know what needs to be done. I just want to see what their train of thought is. And if they kind of fall in line with my thinking process, then I give them a shot. You know what I mean? I let them know, hey, listen, you're here for 90 days. We're going to try you out. I'm going to pay you great fucking money. I need you to go out and start finding some guys to help you. You know what I mean? I can't pay them. I'm not going to pay them $1,000 a week. $1,000 a week in Indiana is like fucking home run. You know what I mean? Rent out there is like $600. So I'm going to pay you fucking New Jersey prices, but I need you to fucking take care of this place like it's your own. And, we went to like 2-3 guys, and finally the third guy is fantastic. You know what I mean? He got guys coming in and out. He's doing what he has to do. He's happy. His kids are getting fed. You know what I mean? So
part of it is,
you take care of them, they take care of you. That's what it boils down to.
Part of it is making sure, they're fed, they're taken care of. And I assume that, you're hiring fast and you're also firing fast.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to just go through people to get to the right one. Would that be fair?
But
we do weekly meetings.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we do weekly meetings. So, we meet on a Wednesday. This is what needs to be done between now and we talk to you next week.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then this needs to be done for the following week. And the first 2 guys weren't executing all that great. And the last guy was, so.
And you usually find like one linchpin who's got some more people in his circle, and he brings the rest of the people in.
Yeah, I try to look for people that have history in construction, have working construction for numerous years. Because really all they gotta do is make a phone call. Hey, I need some guys over here.
You have a line out the door.
So he has, hey, listen, bring 2 guys part-time. It doesn't have to be a full-time gig. We might have to do 2 mobile homes in the next 3 weeks. They can work between 5 and 10 p.m. if they want to, and you'll be surprised. Like, people out there are totally different than out here, man. They want to, it's a red state, right? It's not a Democratic state.
They want to work. No, without doubt. We did 115 properties in Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
And, I remember taking those trips and hiring the teams out there and things like that, and building the infrastructure there so that we could literally run it from here in New Jersey, right off of our laptops.
Yeah.
Right. Because with this and with the, with all the apps and software that you got, you could run it from here. But you hit the nail on the head. Like, they want to work, they want to get out there, and they're very like appreciative of it too. Right. And there's this feel of like pride that you're bringing back like labor into what might otherwise be dead markets. A question about Chicago. So oftentimes Illinois, oftentimes you hear like that's one of the worst states as a landlord to invest. Why did you choose that for your first syndication with that 110 unit?
Well, like I said, New Jersey, same thing. It's not a great state for landlords. You got to learn how to work the systems, right? So that one there is literally in the St. Louis MSA, and St. Louis is a red state. And they have a huge influx of population in St. Louis. So I'm 10 minutes to St. Louis, literally 10 minutes. by car. And in St. Louis, a 2-bedroom is $1,800. I'm 10 minutes away at $750. So again, if there's a market correction, guess where they're coming to? You know what I mean? So they're coming down my path. And again, it's a workforce environment out there, you know, in the Illinois market that I'm in. So again, we're working with, you know, some Section 8. We're working with your Amazon workers. We're working with the guys stocking shelves and stuff like that. So that's
what other industries are anchoring that market?
Basically the same. I would say St. Louis is very similar to New Jersey, right? Or Jersey City. So it's like buying in St. Louis is like buying in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and then you're going over the bridge. But out there you have everything. You have education, you have hospitality, hotels, you got a few universities, you got hospitals, you got medical. It's a huge city. It's not, you know, you're not in the middle of nowhere. And even with our mobile home park, Evansville, it's a big city too, you know?
And we have this philosophy as well. When we look at properties, we typically try to stay within like a 45-minute drive to a big metropolitan area. And I'm guessing that's the theme you also follow, where if you're going to, is that like one of your big investment criterias?
Yeah, we definitely got to be within a major MSA. You know, I'm in New Jersey, so if I got to drive 10 minutes, that's a long drive, right? But out there, 45 minutes that's normal. That's like, oh yeah, I got to go to the fax machine. Like it's 45 minutes away at Staples. And it's funny because one of my friends I went to elementary school with, his father played for the Jets, and he moved out to Nebraska. So he actually sold me a property that his grandmother owned here in Hackensack. And I had to send him documents and stuff because he was handling all the paperwork. He's like, oh, well, the nearest fax machine is 45 minutes away. I'm like, dude, what the fuck do you live? Like in the goddamn boondocks? He's like, yeah, that's how it is out here. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, you know? But then when I started investing out of state, I'm like, yeah, that's real, man. That's their lifestyle.
I just got back from Houston, and Houston's like a never-ending strip mall. It's an interesting place, and tons of land. Like Texas, we've got a friend out there. He you know, he says that if you can't make it in Texas, you can't make it anywhere. Like they have no zoning over there. You buy a piece of
whatever
land,
you want,
put whatever the heck you want on.
Really?
That was my reaction too. Because we've stood in front of city council, we've taken architectural plans,
zoning boards, all
of this stuff. Houston, you could take a single family, turn it into a 4-family, and nobody's gonna
Really?
It didn't compute for me. And he's like, man, if you guys have to go through this stuff in New Jersey, you need to move out to Houston because this is what we got, you know, over here. So people are doing like build to Airbnb, build for rent, like left and right, because land is like everywhere. Over there, you know. Now, crazy. What does your company look like in the next 5 to 10 years, right?
My goal is to get to like, you know, 3,000 to 4,000 apartments. Huh?
Let's just say next 5 years.
I would say 3,000 to 4,000 apartments if I can. That's my goal. So right now we're under contract on 300. Hopefully by the year end, I would like to be at 600-700 units. And if I can keep 600-700 units a year, I think that'll be, you know, where I want to be at. You know, so again, and it's crazy because, you know, sometimes I sit here with my wife and I'm like, why? You know what I mean? I'm like, why am I doing this? You know, I don't have to. I can sit back and relax. You know, I got the cars I want. You know, I got the house I want. I was like, my kids don't have to worry about nothing. But, you know, what am I going to do? I go to the gym a lot more often now. But, you know, it really was, I guess I'm competing against myself, right? So it's like, okay, I just want to, you got that urge to do better and better and better. You know what I mean? So I told my wife, I was like 44 this year. I'm 45 this year. By 50, I want a private plane. That's my goal, I guess. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I think if you're an entrepreneur, people have this like delusional thinking that retirement or financial freedom is like you just stop doing anything and you watch the grass grow. And I think that's when you actually start dying.
Exactly.
You need to stay active because your brain is constantly been pumping and solving problems and creating value and things like that in the marketplace, right? That's what gives you life. Like that's why we get up, and we get up with a different sort of zeal on a Monday than most other people, right? Like we don't have the Monday blues or whatever.
And you go back to like my dad, right? He was, you know, he retired at 61 years old. You know, he came to America at 32 and retired at 61. He didn't even work 30 years in America. You know, he owned a few rental properties. The employee he was working with is like, we're closing up shop. He's like, well, I'm not going back to work. You know, he didn't speak English. He's like, I'm not going to apply for a job. And, you know, thankfully he was 61 and he died at 81. He had 20 years to spend with his family and the grandkids, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's like, you want your time, you know, who the hell, God forbid he had to work till 78 and die 81.
We're here for this amount of, like, here's the timeline of the planet, right? And we're going to be this like little speck on there. This is all we're going to have. You want to spend all that time working? No, you want to have meaningful relationship with your kids, your wife, all of that. That's
those grandkids. He babysat all the grandkids for 20 years. All those years he was home, he watched all the grandkids.
That's that immigrant advantage. You come hungry, you come with ambition, right? And you understand like what this land gives you.
And I learned because like my dad always wanted to buy more real estate, right? And then my mom was like always worried. She's like, no. What if it goes bad? What if? And so many deals that they had to end up backing out of, literally last minute losing the deposit because she would drive him crazy. You know, like, we're not closing on this. I'm too scared. And he would have owned a hell of a lot more real estate, but you know, he still did well at the end of the day.
Let me ask you this.
It's a time, you know, it's a time.
I don't know about like in the Italian tradition and heritage, like, is there like we have this big time, like a chip on our shoulders with our dads. Like we want that, you know, that I'm proud of you, son, but it's like, it's extremely, extremely almost impossible to get. So, you know, your dad saw you go through so much success. Was there a point where you could see he looked at you and like, Mel, you did it?
No, he was always proud. He was always proud. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
He was always happy that I did the real estate. You know, when I bought the nice cars, he's like, "Oh man, good job." He loved cars. When he was in Italy, man, he had so many. He was always swapping cars out, and he's like, "Oh man, that's a nice car." You know what I mean? I was like, "See, Dad, I told you should have bought in Jersey City." You know, because he didn't buy in Hoboken because it was dangerous in Hoboken during his time, right? So yeah, he was always very proud. So that's
Joey just messaged saying that my dad's never given up. Joey, that's why Indian and Pakistani and Chinese dads are on those memes, right? Like when we come home with an A, they're like, "Why not A+?"
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
That's what it is. What happened to the 0.1?
Yeah. All right, cool, man. So it's been a enlightening conversation. It's been awesome. Learned a lot more about you. I know we've met on a couple of panels and conferences and things like that, but this was great. And again, you know, our condolences to your family.
Thank you, man.
We have a little bit of time for some Q&A. So I'm going to run down and people can start putting it in there. So let's see let's take it from the top. Okay. Did he cover short-term rentals at Airbnb? Anything I should look out for? Anything people should look out for when it comes to short-term rentals at Airbnb? Yeah,
like I know, I was mentored. My friend who's done it a few times, he helped me out a lot. But you really want, like, you know, back to the Section 8 thing, you think people are going to destroy your place, right? Airbnb, people can destroy your place even worse than a Section 8 tenant will. So you definitely want to make sure, you know, if the person who's booking, why are they booking? Why are you visiting? How many people? If it's like Labor Day weekend, a Memorial Day weekend, it's a group of 8 adults, you know, it's going to be a party going on in there. If the person, you have an Airbnb in Wildwood, New Jersey, and the person is lives in Wildwood, New Jersey, why is he renting a place? He just wants to throw a party in your place. So you really want to screen them just like you screen tenants, right? So like I'm buying stuff now, I'm looking for some stuff in Miami, but I'm not going to South Beach because South Beach is party central, right? I'm going to go to Miami North Beach because it's more family oriented. So I like to buy in family oriented places because that's who your demographics is going to be and renting those places. I don't want to go to Daytona Beach, Florida. I can buy Daytona Beach, Florida condo for $99,000, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to rehab it 1,000 times. You know what I mean? So we want to weigh out your options and really know. Again, if you want to get into rentals, you want to do A class, B class, C class, D class. What's your forte? Same thing with Airbnb. Do you want to throw parties in your place, or do you want to be family oriented and, you know, obviously it'll work out better that way for you. So
great answer. Frank sounds like he wants to lend to you. Sounds like a private lender. Does anybody or Carmelo do joint ventures for rehab projects where the investor provides some cash down? loan, Carmelo would make money on the rehab and or on the sale. So it sounds like you obviously do that and you provided your info for that. Especially for investors not residing in the same area or out of towners. Okay. Samira asked, what systems, software, and apps do you use to manage your accounting, tenant maintenance, and leasing? Different
use
software
Appfolio.
or all in one?
Yeah, we use Appfolio and it does everything for us. So it manages the tenants, it manages the leasing, service requests, bookkeeping.
Yeah.
It does everything for us. It's a little expensive. It might cost us maybe $600 to $800 a month, depending on the fees. So you really want to own I think as I say, minimum 60, 70 doors for to make it worth your while before you get into Appfolio. But there's other ones out there. So
yep, Tenant Cloud is another good option.
yeah.
Do you have a property manager running your Airbnbs or manage the high volume of guests going in and out?
No, we're all self-managed. So our systems does everything, and we have a virtual assistant that helps with responses. Everything's if you go on Airbnb platform, you can literally set up auto responders for every time for all the, like say for example, the day they book, thank you for booking with us, blah blah blah. And we use different apps also to integrate with Airbnb to give you the door codes and all that stuff. And then the day before the booking, hey, listen, you're checking in tomorrow. I need a copy of everyone who's 18 and older IDs. So it's all automated on that end. Really, the only thing we have to manage is the cleaning lady. And she's also on our Airbnb system. And she sees who checks in, checks out when that happens. We also put it in our calendar and CC her in the calendar so she sees on her phone that tomorrow's a checkout or check-in. And then we also send her text message. My assistant sends her text messages the day before of every check-in, so she knows which units need to be done. So she's getting hit 3 ways. Make sure that unit's going to be ready for those guests. Right. So that's going to be your biggest question. Person is your cleaning people, and she came to us recommended from another Airbnb host. She's like, well, I can do the units for $100 each. I was like, no, I'm gonna give you $145. How's that sound? And she's fantastic. You know what I mean? So nice. People want less and I give them more. So I was like, and they were more than willing to work and bust their ass for us, so.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. In the middle of the season, we gave her like $1,000 bonus. She sends me a bill for like $200. I was like, here's $1,200. And she was grateful as hell. You know what I mean? So.
Awesome. What's the best negotiation tactic you can advise to use with off-market sellers? Negotiation tactic with off-market sellers.
Negotiating tactic with off-market sellers. I again, with everything's visual, right? So when we break things down, we break it down via numbers. So if you're going to list with this person, you got to pay 6% commission, or they're gonna, take a credit for repairs, or it's an extra 4 months to close and 4 months in closing, carrying costs. So we literally break that down in a 2-sided chart. This is how much it's gonna cost for you to close with a real estate agent or a broker, and this is how much you're gonna save with us, with our offer. And then usually the bottom line is gonna equate to almost the same number net that they would with a broker. So that's really how we kind of break down. If I sit there and explain it to you, you're not going to make any sense of it, and the seller's not going to make any sense of it. So we literally put it in black and white on a piece of paper when we meet with them, and we show them the numbers in black and white. Then they're like, "Oh, you know what? That makes sense. Okay, Mel, we'll go with you." You know what I mean? So that's really the best way to do it.
Matt Donnelly's got a really good one. Hey, Mel, if you had to start over today, would you pay for leads or keep it organic like you did?
I never paid for leads. Leads is basically a relationship business, right? So I'm meeting with brokers, I'm meeting with sellers, I'm meeting family and friends or referrals. Like I send out, when I first started, hey, I buy real estate, friends and family, every 45 days, 30, 40 people, my friends and families, we get a text message, I buy real estate. Then I built a rapport. I'm a real estate agent, I'm a real estate broker. So I've been in the business for 20 something years now, 20 years plus probably. And so brokers that I've worked with, Remax, Coa Banker, Exit Realty, They know what I do, so they always contact me. So again, you're building that relationship. Passive brokers I worked with, they get a text message from me every 20 to 45 days. Hey, you got any deals? You got any deals? It's Mel. Sell to Mel, sell to Mel, sell to Mel. You always want to catch your line stuck in their head. So I've never paid for leads, and the ones that I did pay for sucked. So really, you just build them organically, man. That's that.
Is there a way that you determine like what realtor you work for and what broker you work with?
Who, me? When I was licensed?
No, just even now, like, are there certain realtors and brokers that you work with? How do you determine like that's a realtor that I'm going to do business with, or that's a broker that I'm going to do business with?
Yeah, that's a question from Yoheda Nolasco. So she's asking, how do you determine which broker or realtor you're going to work with?
Because if they got a deal, I buy it. I don't care who the hell they work with. They could work with Joe Schmo brokerage. Yeah, I really don't care as long as the deal comes to me.
Your numbers guy at the end of the day.
That's really boils down to the numbers. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say, hey, listen, she's hot. I'm gonna buy the colony. I'm gonna buy the property from her. Trust me, I've done that in the past. Like, hey, it's a good looking agent. Let me call her. You know what I mean? But
real question is, did you make money on those deals?
Probably not. I don't even know. I don't think they even found me any deals. You know what I mean? They just drag you around.
Think with this head. All right, what's the easiest property? What's the easiest property to get started with? Multifamily?
What's that?
What's the easiest type of property to get started with? Do you recommend multifamily, single family?
I always tell my students at the end of the day, it's like, listen, you're building a house, right? You're building a foundation to a business. And to me, you know, I did some flops and I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I wouldn't, if I didn't have the rental portfolio prior to losing $200,000-300,000, I'd be divorced and bankrupt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, you know, start small, build, you know, 3 family, 4 family, 6 family, start building a little portfolio where you're making a few $1,000s a month that if you flip a house and you lose 40 grand, you're not worried about it. You know what I mean? But I see people will start flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping. And then the next thing you know, the market takes a shit and now you don't have a business anymore, right? Or I see people like they do one flip that made 50 grand. They take the 50 grand, now they're doing 2 flips. Now all their money's tied up in 2 flips. They sell those 2 properties, they got $150,000. They're taking $150,000 and buying 5 properties to flip. The market took a tank, guess what? You wiped out completely. You got nothing to show for
Done.
it. So what I did is I'd buy rental properties, then I started flipping properties. I literally took every dollar from my flips and bought apartment buildings. I'd flip some more, bought more apartment buildings. I was doing real estate sales or Remax, Coa Bank. I was closing 7 deals a month on average. That's $7,000 commission check per deal in Bergen County. That's $49,000 a month. Okay. And I would buy apartment buildings. I would drive a Hyundai. I lived in a 2-family house for 16 years. Like I would drive a Hyundai and I'm sitting on millions of dollars in real estate. Right. Yeah. And literally in my driveway, I had a Hyundai and a Lamborghini. Okay, that's my wife came home. She was like, "Whose fucking Lamborghini is that?" I was like, "I bought it." You know what I mean? She didn't even know what the hell was going on. She was still working a full-time job. Yeah. And she was like, "Why don't you get a Lamborghini?" You know. At the end of the day, it's like you just gotta take the money and reinvest it and reinvest it. But if I would have started with flips, and then the market took a shit, yeah, broke, right? So yeah, you're hedging.
It's super smart. Yeah, exactly. You bulletproofed your entire business by having passive cash flow. Exactly. And as like I was saying, like that became like your R&D, irrespective of where the economic cycle was. If it did good, did bad, you know. Exactly. And you took calculated risk, so most of them did good anyway, right? Yeah. Somebody's asking, what are some good areas for multifamily in New Jersey?
Man,
today everything's so overinflated.
The simple way to answer that is wherever you can find a deal.
Yeah.
Just about.
To me, it's really, you know, you got to keep in mind, right? 2 things are going to happen right now. We don't know what's going to happen, but the 2 things I can speculate is number 1, the Fed is going to determine what's going to happen in the market. So if they jack up the rates, we're in an inflationary period, right? The 70s into the 80s. If we go back to the 70s and 80s, the rates spiked up from 11% Monday to 13, 14% Friday. Okay, because the Fed had to curb inflation because it was running rampant. So my parents are buying properties in the 70s. You know, they were buying things in Bergen County for $75,000. But then that same house in the 80s was $150,000, $200,000 because of the inflationary period, right? Now we're in that same predicament again. Now we're seeing the same thing happen again. It's like, okay, we're having this inflationary period, but what's the Fed going to do? If they're going to spike up the rates, they're going to stall the economy, and commercial real estate's probably going to take the biggest hit because that's really based on numbers, right? So that's why I tell my investors, we're in for cash flow. That's basically what it boils down to. I don't plan on cashing out, refinancing this at 8% rate in a few years. So that's number one. Or number two is the rates are going to go up, and guess what's going to happen? Inflation's still going to happen, and then the rents are going to go up. So it's going to make up for those interest rates. So it kind of work together and seamlessly together on the inflationary part. So who knows what's going to happen? We don't know, right? But at the end of the day, if the deal cash flows, who cares what's going to happen? At the end, you're in the cash flow business. So if it makes $1,200, $1,300, $1,500 a month, and you paid $700,000 for a 3-family house, who cares? You made them. You're cash flowing. You know what I mean? You can't look at. This happened in 07, and I bought a lot of deals, even in Jersey City in 07. Is landlords like, well, I paid $500,000 for this 4-family in Greenville. It's worth $250,000, and just walk away like idiots. But it was a cash cow. It was a complete cash cow. But then it's stuck in their head. They're like, well, I'm losing money. No, you're not losing money. You're still cash flowing $2,000 a month. Why would you do that? But it's going to happen all over again, and you just got to take advantage of it. So don't look at what you're buying and what the price is. Look at the bottom line and what the cash flow is. Because if you overpaid 10 properties and you're cash flowing $2,000 a month each, that's $2,000 a month. Who cares if your net worth is negative $200,000 or $300,000? You're making $20,000 a month. No one else is. You know what I mean? So.
And that net worth only matters if you sell, right?
Exactly.
Like a stock. But
It's
if
like
you're getting
holding
the
a bad
dividends,
position.
if you're getting the dividends, who cares for now?
Exactly.
And it'll go up during that inflationary period.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
Tom, welcome. Tom Angelucci is always active in the real estate community. Mel, when doing a capital raise, is there a minimum investment? What's the ideal amount?
50,000 is the minimum. Yeah.
With accredited investors, especially, yeah.
Yeah, 50,000. If somebody says, "Hey, Mel, I got 25, and I know you well enough, and I know you're not going to drive me crazy," then maybe I can, we leave it in our PPM to have the ability to change it.
But so guys that give you 25,000 that have 25,000 questions throughout the deal.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So if somebody
a lot of our investors lately have been doctors. Really, I've been doing a lot of cardiologists. Then Mel, I want to invest. Some other real estate investors.
How are you finding them? How are they coming to you?
Just the doctors that I've dealt with. My brother works for Rolls-Royce Bentley, so a lot of his clients are doctors and business owners and stuff. So we're meeting with, having dinners with them and discussing what we're looking to do. My cardiologist, I have my rent money hat, my rent money shirt. That's all. He doesn't even know my real name. He calls me rent money. So he invests in me. My primary doctor. So you'd be surprised, how easy it is to raise capital. And again, I have a portfolio already. I show them I'm literally at 50% or 40% LTV on my entire portfolio. I'm not over leveraged. So I was like, hey, shit hits a fan. I've got plenty of equity to pay you back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Few people are asking, you mentioned your students a couple of times. Can you share info about your program? And we're big proponents of that. We say don't stop at our program. There is so much that you can learn from another educator and another educator. So make sure that you continue, to get along your knowledge journey. Mel, mention your program and where can people find that?
I just do it because I always get people all the time, Mel, I want to learn about real estate, whatever. I was like, all right, I'll do it. I literally do this maybe 2 times a year or 1 time a year when I feel like doing it. But it's REI for Dummies, REI the number 4 at dummies.com. And I just basically go over what I've done in the past. What to look for, how to hedge risk, reading the markets, like the Warren Buffett indicator, what the Fed is doing, the 10-year yield, how to understand those. Because I didn't understand that in 07, right? If I did, I would have seen it coming. But I didn't. So I was like, hey, great, let's go keep flipping houses like an idiot. And then boom, the thing takes a tank, and then building the portfolio, starting with a 3-family and building that up and then going to bigger deals. Then doing Airbnbs and whatnot. So my core, you're not going to get, I tell the day one, you don't get rich overnight. This took me 20 years to do. But again, if you want to, 10, 15 years and, spend the rest of your life with your kids, then you'll do fine. And I tell And I told one student, he was like, my wife doesn't want to buy, I was like, I'm buying a house and my wife wants to buy a single family and I want to buy a 3-family house hack. I was like, dump your wife. You'll get another wife when you're rich. Don't worry about it. Move on. That's it. Call it a day.
That could be
then you can't invest.
No, that could be another T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
You just go to the T-shirt business. You got a lot of sayings. What kind of return can be expected on a 50K investment? Somebody's asking.
On a 50K, we get your preferred 8% usually. Then after that, it's a 70-30 split. So usually it comes out to maybe total investment between 17 to 20% IRR over the term of the term. So it's not it's a decent deal. It's nothing crazy, but but for people who understand, got money,
it's better than leaving in the account. Yeah, exactly, in the bank.
Exactly. So it works out pretty well for the investors.
All right, Mel, that was pretty much the last question. Any parting words that you have for all the folks that were listening and that came on today?
At the end of the day, man, it's just about, if you're looking to do real estate investing, number one, you're not going to get rich overnight. And it's really about, getting your time back. At the end of the day, life is very short. You know what I mean? I'm already 44 years old and hopefully got another 40 years left. Half my life is gone already. And I want to enjoy that time. I don't want to work. You'll see those cashiers at 75 years old working because they can't make ends meet. So you don't want to become filthy rich. You probably can if you want to in this business. But at the end of the day, if you build a small little portfolio, you can enjoy life. You know what I mean? That's what it boils down to. So
it's a great message.
You want to see Grant Cardone, all those big shots. Yeah, you can do that. But my dad did a great job with a few units and he enjoyed life and spent time with his kids. And that's what you want to get out of life, So
there's a trade-off on all of that, and time's the one thing that you're not going to ever get back. Mel, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Anytime,
God bless you guys and your family, and you're always willing to give and make that trip when we do our in-person meetings and stuff. So you've always been a huge asset and blessing to
your first generation. I'm first generation. I know where it comes from, bro.
Let's do it. For sure.
Awesome, guys.
I appreciate you, man. All right. Thanks so much. All right, guys, we'll send out the recording and everybody have a good night. Take care.
Good night, guys.
Bye.